Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 112th presentation of the 2021. Well, wait a minute.
No,
it's
keep
the
going.
first
Keep going.
presentation
There's
of
no
the
second takes, Tom.
2021
That's
Killies
right.
Awards.
We've practiced 111 times before this for this year's award.
Tonight,
and I'm so
special
thrilled.
appearances by Olivia Rodrigo, Ben Thompson, BTS, and the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm your co-host, Tom Merritt.
I'm your co-host, Brian Brushwood. And most importantly, presenting our first award is our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Bryce Castillo.
Oh, hello, everybody. Glad to be here. Well, I guess I'll present my first category. How about
Wait,
this?
also explain the conceit of this. I just realized I skipped over that part.
Okay.
These are the best television shows and possibly some movies that we watched this year. They didn't have to come out this year. Just means we watched them and we enjoyed them. And we have scientifically determined the perfect categories in which to give these awards. Now, presenting the award for Best New...
Oh, sorry, Tom. Do you mind?
Thank you for the appropriate.
Thank you, Michael
Bryce
Winslow.
Castillo.
This is a bit of a twofer, but the best new of 2021 goes to the Netflix series Drive to Survive, as well as the service Formula One TV Pro. It has never been easier to get into Formula One, the world's fastest soap opera. It's very cool. The Netflix show does a very good job of explaining a lot about who these drivers are. There are only 20 drivers ever at any one point, so it makes it really easy to learn about them. And the show gives a lot of attention to people who wouldn't normally get a lot of attention on TV, usually the back of the pack, the back marker racers. And then, if you get into it, it's very easy to just watch it. It's $10 a month in most countries in the world. And you can watch it live. You can watch it after the fact. It's very convenient. I have gotten a lot of value out of it. And I think I probably will even in the next couple months while the season is waiting for the new season to start.
If I can confess, it's been a lot of fun. 5 years ago, I never would have pegged you as the kind of person who would be getting into sports or whatever. But you decided to okay, I'll get into football. What should I follow? And then, Justin advised you to follow college football and you picked your favorite team or whatever. But now I feel totally behind the curve and I feel like I have to catch up.
It's the nice thing about Drive to Survive is very bingeable, but also you could just watch the last season. The seasons cover an entire year season. So the last season, the third season on Netflix is the 2020 season. And presumably the next season of this last season that just happened and just had this big
soap
finale.
Opera ending, yeah.
So big will presumably come out before the new season starts early 2021. So Drive to Survive is on Netflix and F1 TV Pro. You could just get it at Formula1.com. They're both great. And they've got apps. The F1 TV stuff has good apps too. The apps really make or break this sort of thing. So that's me. Coming up next will be Tom. Tom, presenting the award for Best Makes You Feel Good About Things. Tom.
Yes, this category is correctly titled Best. I shouldn't like this as much as it is because it's so obviously cute, and yet I can't stop thinking that it makes me feel really good about things. And that award goes to Netflix's series Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, a story of a high-powered dentist from Seoul who ends up moving to a small seaside town where she's a fish out of water, but meets up with the local guy who does everything for everybody and his country ways. Will they fall in love? Well, of course. But it's like just it's like the Ted Lasso of Korea, basically. It's just heartwarming. It's got actual small town tragedies and divorces and all of this stuff. But it just always does that thing that Ted Lasso does where it doesn't make the sappiness feel unearned. It always felt like they had to prevail against something in order to get the pleasantness that comes from it. I really enjoyed it.
Tom, we've been doing this show long enough that I realize it is entirely possible that you have spent 30 minutes explaining this show to me and I have forgotten all about it. But have you?
Yes, well, not 30 minutes. I definitely mentioned it on what we're watching at least once, if not twice.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do it.
There you go. Hometown cha-cha-cha.
Tom, I think at a deep Freudian psychological level, we all have a tendency to take our very most favorite thing and put it first. And I'm not afraid to admit that my award for the best version of The Boys, that it happens to be animated and has way less awkward sex stuff that you can enjoy with your 13-year-old at the time, now 14-year-old daughter, goes to Invincible. My goodness, is Invincible good? It's great. It's got J.K. Simmons. It's got the main character is played by Glenn from The Walking Dead, I think. It doesn't matter. It's a great show. You should watch it right now.
There you go. Where could you watch it?
On
Amazon Prime Video.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Oh, as a matter of fact, that was one of my favorite parts of watching the new Spider-Man movie, is they ran a promo beforehand that was sponsored by Amazon Prime, in which all of the characters from all of the Amazon Prime shows tell everybody to turn off their phones, including people from Invincible.
That was your favorite part of the
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Low bar.
It was a solid show. It was a solid show, and it definitely is the best version of The Boys. Like it definitely wins this category.
And good surprise. They do good stuff with the format.
Oh
And
my God.
It feels a little
And-
bit edgy in a way that doesn't feel overly done.
What they are setting up for the second season, I think, felt pretty big. Yeah. There is a scene in the very last few minutes of the last episode that seems to set up, like, what if all the good guys and all the bad guys knew they were in big trouble unless they all came together, the entire planet, to take on one guy. It's amazing.
We now take a moment in the show to do what I think is a very special thing, which is the honored and most anticipated award for Creator of the Year. Here to present the award is Bryce Castillo.
This year, I have a hard time getting into personalities online. I try not to really key in and really buy in on one person. But this year, I really kind of couldn't help it. I thought Germa 985 or Second Germa is his active YouTube channel right now. He's like a Let's Player, but I think he does a very good. He's very funny on his own. A lot of people are not good at being funny by themselves. I think he's very good at being funny on his own. I think he goes through a lot of work to, when he streams, he'll do, long multi-hour streams, and then he's got editors who cut the streams down to like 20, 30, 40 minutes, whatever, the good stuff. And I think what's been especially special about seeing Germa's stuff this year is he's done a couple of very big things. You've probably seen about the Dollhouse stream. So there were 3 or 4 days in a week earlier this year where he was in a studio in this big Sims-like stage and actually had people in the chat who could give him commands like The Sims. And it was this big improv project, and you don't see anything of that production value. He had a big surprise stream earlier this year of archaeology. He just was out in the Nevada desert. He's in Las Vegas and was digging up geodes, and he actually had a geologist out there, and they were cracking open geodes, and, well, okay, what's this stuff? Oh, what's that? And it's really fun. I think that this is someone who puts a lot of pride and effort into the concepts and the ideas that he's doing. And is also just like a funny and seems like a nice guy. So
if you were going to pitch this creator to somebody who you wouldn't think of as somebody who follows particular YouTubers or Twitch streams or whatever, do you have one of those simple, it's blank meets blank, or if you like blank, then you'll like blank, that kind of thing?
It's tough because I don't, there are not a lot of like other very mainstream personalities that I follow. So I don't know who I would classify him as. He's a clown. He's an online clown, which I think is a personality he like accepts to a certain degree. I that's tough for me, but I would say give him a try.
But it sounds like he's an outrageous, over the top personality with a curious mind, that kind of thing.
I think he's got a very smart and developed sense of humor. I wouldn't say that he's boisterous or loud or some big like children's stimulation constantly screaming. I think he's the opposite of that. It feels like he's for adults. He's for people who need a more maybe mature.
So if you want adults only material.
Well, so anyway, German 95, that's my creator of the year.
All right, our next category is Best Show That Can Hear You, Clem Fandango.
Wait.
And of course, it goes to What We Do in the Shadows. No, I'm just kidding. It goes to Toast of London.
Oh my goodness, Tom, I have this on my list. It wins the award for Yes, I Can Hear Myself Stealing This from Tom.
A double winner. What could be better, Brian?
I was unprepared for the experience of falling all the way in love with a show all at once. And boy, this show hit me at the right moment at the right time. And I think it was me that drug you down into the pit of adoration.
Yes, it was definitely you that encouraged me to watch it. And I always know when you encourage me to watch something, I'm going to like it, but I'm not always sure that I have the time to properly appreciate it. And with Toast of London, I already knew I liked the star, and I'm like, I'm probably going to love it. As soon as I watched it, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm watching all of this. Like, it was that good where like my time consideration and prioritization, like I'll move something else out of the way for this. And I just like blazed right through it. When I was going back and looking what I watched over the past year, this is one when it popped up. I had the immediate like, oh yeah, that's going on the final list. That's not going in the consideration list. That's going right into the winners list.
And I think it's worth noting, like I took 2 laps. I took the binge lap where I was laughing the whole time, but then I took the, night after night showing the misses and so on, and giggling while the kids were going to bed. It revealed to me something that I had never experienced before, which is straight up classical British farce comedy. Like I now understand what people who deeply, deeply, deeply love Monty Python were trying to explain. And I saw it through this lens.
Yeah. No, it was fun. And I'm so excited that we're going to get more, apparently.
I guess reading between the lines from the hints that are dropped on social media, we're looking at like a Netflix, Stephen Toast
Netflix
goes to Hollywood
thing
or
in
something.
New York or Hollywood. Yeah, I guess it was Hollywood. Yeah. It should be good. All right, Bryce, shall we move on to the category of best one of those in the category of comedies?
Oh, yes. For me, this is the best one of those to be is Futurama. I think Futurama just really holds up as
kind of a classic, right?
A classic bit of comedy. And boy, did I see a lot of that in Inside Job for Netflix. It is very much, hey, what if Futurama was Rick and Morty, but more Futurama than Rick and Morty?
Yep.
And I think it hits way more than it misses. The idea is it follows this kind of grumpy lady who works at the shadow government, who turns out almost every conspiracy theory is real, and they control it and they run them. And so that's a lot of the engine for, okay, well, how do we go to a town that is stuck in the 80s or the 90s? So how do we do a body swapping thing? That ends up kind of being the conceit of it. And I think it works really well. And it's got a few little bit of serialization stuff, because that's all cartoons have to have long story threads now. But I think it's really, really fun. And it is a little quippy. If you're a little anemic to kind of quippiness, then maybe you won't be into it. But I think by episode 2 or 3, you're really you see the format. You're like, oh man, we're really doing the Futurama thing. And you know what? More power to them.
Well, and I love that description, because what if Rick and Morty was Futurama? Like, I love both of those things. I've just had a lot of Futurama, and my belly's a little bit full of Futurama, which is why I've only watched like 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, very highly recommended for me. Inside Job. All right. Now presenting the category for, let's see, Best Nostalgia Play, Tom Merritt.
You know, nostalgia. It's the thing we think about fondly when we think of old things. And nothing had more fondness towards old things this year than the winner of this category, WandaVision.
Which ironically was the most forward-looking of all of the. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
It was a fantastic show.
I'm giving WandaVision was great. I enjoyed it front to back. I'm giving it a place on my list because of how well they did the homages to classic television shows as in the end a sideline. It was not the plot. That was window dressing, and yet they committed to the bit, and they did it well while still telling a front to back great story that obviously, as we've learned recently, ties in directly into future MCU properties, which of course you could have guessed anyway. But yeah, I think what gives it an extra notch on here is not only that I really enjoyed the storyline, but I thoroughly enjoyed the way they told it in those first 3 episodes in particular.
I sometimes consider the possibility of an alternate timeline in which the original plan, which was to have Falcon and the Winter Soldier come out first, and then WandaVision happened. And I think I would have really been turned off by the Disney Plus MCU, and then it would have taken a little bit of cajoling to get me to give WandaVision a try. I'm very thankful we live in the timeline where WandaVision was the original.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, now to present the award for #1 documentary guy to keep watching, ladies and gentlemen, The Modern Rogues, Brian Brushwood.
Okay, so this is going to feel an awful lot like Bryce's take, where it's like, #1, there's so much good stuff on the YouTube channel Defunctland, but all of it is under the control of Kevin Perjurer, which, fake name, fakey name, but I really think that he's going to head to greatness. Like I'm watching him, like if I could bet on a storytelling racehorse, the realm that he plays in is basically everything that was in a theme park and went away. What if it came back, or what was the story behind it, etc. But like, for example, the most recent posting was a 90-minute documentary about standing in lines and the various ways you can stand in lines and the various ways you can ameliorate the discomfort of standing in lines and how Disney tried all of these things. And he puts together some theatrical conceits that I think are really beautiful and adorable. And I just can't say enough. Go watch Defunctland. It's great.
And normally he's reporting on theme parks, old attractions.
Yes.
Otherwise.
Yes.
That's his bread and butter.
Like, for example, there's one episode that is, why are there so many creepy, desiccated, abandoned Santa villages? And then he explains like what that movement was and what it was in response to and what they look like now. Ooh, gross, that kind of thing.
There we go.
And now, here to present the award for Best One of Those action drama category is Bryce Castillo.
Boy, did I really like Squid Game. Squid Game.
Wow.
Even the end?
Even the end. Yeah.
Even the end.
Wow.
Even the end.
Okay.
It is one of those stories. I won't tell you what one of those stories is, but once you get in it, you'll be like, oh, it's okay. It's one of those stories. But you know what? I think it's very well done. I think it's very inventive, very, very clever. I think it does not lean too much in the soap operatics. I think it is dramatic without being melodramatic. I think it has good action without being a ton of, shaky cam punching guys all the time. Like, I think it does a good job of trying to be both of those things. We talked on Spoiler in Time. The end's a little bit of a question mark on how we feel it lands. But you know what? Like, I think that the big thing for me on Squid Game is that the execution is very well done. There's
That's
a world
very
where
good moments.
there's a world where there's a much cheaper version of Squid Game, and we don't have the same reaction to it.
And I will say this much. If you go into Squid Game deciding that you already know it's popular and there'll certainly be a season 2, I think you will have no problems with the ending of season 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah, you can look past a lot of it. You're right. I agree.
so that's on Netflix, Squid Game. Now presenting the award for Best Schadenfreude is Tom Merritt. Tom.
Yeah. Now, ironically, even though the title of the category is based on a German word, this is a show about an Italian who goes to Korea.
What?
It's Vincenzo on Netflix, a story of an Italian mafia consigliere who was born in Korea but adopted into an Italian family. And when his Don of his crime family is assassinated, he returns to Korea in order to recover some gold that he helped bury for a client. And that client is now dead. So there's only biometric locks on this, and it's buried underneath a declining shopping center. So the entire story is about Vincenzo moving in and trying to win over the trust of these small business owners who are fighting against local toughs who want to tear down the shopping center. So he takes up their cause to fight against tearing down the shopping center. They think it's to help them. He, of course, doesn't want the bulldozer to discover the gold before he does, and it's a race to discover the gold. It's Vincenzo. It's one of those stories. When I say it's best Schadenfreude, it's because you really love how the bad guys get taken down, and there's multiple bad guys. There's lawyers who are trying to get the property bulldozed that Vincenzo helps the small business owners take on and survive. There's bullies, and there's bullies that get redeemed and turn to the side of the shop owners and become shop owners themselves. It's a wonderful, wonderful story, and that involves the Italian mafia and gold.
Now,
what's not to love?
In this case, you said it's a Korean production that's on Netflix, right?
Correct. That is right.
What I love about this, and tell me if I'm in the right neighborhood, if you had left out the word Korean in Netflix, I would have thought you were describing the next season of Fargo.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It certainly doesn't have all the same tone that a Fargo would because it's not made by the same producers.
But that kind of like dumb,
that kind of
silly
running
detail
tone behind it is certainly there. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
And now, in the category of best show that will ruin DC movies for you, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Brushwood.
Oh my goodness. It's with great excitement. I haven't even watched all of them yet, but my goodness, I owe a debt of gratitude for my daughter and, yes, Meryl Barr for encouraging me to finally give a watch to HBO Max's own Harley Quinn. The best TVMA animated DC anything I've ever seen in my entire life. I've rewatched the first 6 or 7 episodes so many times. It has ruined my ability. I think about the jokes and the things that Harley Quinn accuses Batman of being up to. And then I'm in the theater and there's a DC Universe Batman trailer playing and I'm going like, and it's all because of Harley Quinn and its brilliant writing. There are many shows that people will ask you to watch and they say, give it 4 or 5 episodes. Or in the case of Babylon 5, make it to season 6. But no, start Harley Quinn, give it 17 seconds. That's it. You're going to be in or out.
I 100% agree. I started watching this before HBO Max launched, and it was a pain. And so it was hard to recommend back then when Meryl was the one that recommended it to me too. Now that it's on HBO Max, it's easy. They're all there. You don't have to be like, well, some of them are on Hulu, but these others are on the Sci-Fi app, and you have to. No, it's just all on HBO Max. They're great. I was watching the What If series going like, oh yeah, that's the woman who does Poison Ivy. And that is how I will think of her, no matter who she's voicing in the series. It's so good.
Also, is it just me or am I in love with Poison Ivy?
Oh no, it's not
She's
just you.
so
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah,
She's so great.
She's the best. All right.
Bryce!
Well then.
Sorry, we had a moment where we looked up to the stars. Bryce, can you present to us the award for Best Returner?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is well deserved. It's been a minute, but the award for Best Returner goes to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which, as of this recording, is only like 2 or 3 episodes back in their 15th season. I will say this. Always Sunny has been in the news the past year or two, and the second episode, they put 2 episodes out on the first week, but one of the first episodes addresses some of those things that put the show in the news, and I think addresses it in a way full of tact. I think it's a little bit of a Rorschach test, but I think it handles the topic very well, and does a good job of stating their position when it comes to that stuff. So it's a little broad, but
Wow.
Between that and then I was like, oh my gosh, Always Sunny's on Hulu. It's been forever. Brian was talking about it. I haven't caught up. I'm so far behind. I'm years behind. I caught up in like a week, and there was still a bunch of stuff that I had seen. Like I really thought I was way, way behind on Always Sunny, but there's a lot of good stuff even late into the show, into their 12, 13, 14th season. So
we might have already talked about it, but that means that you got to the unbelievable Mac dance that
was very nice. I wonder, I had not seen that episode before, and it was a very nice sequence. I was not maybe moved to tears, but I thought it was nice. Yeah.
I was certainly surprised to see it on Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
So there you go. Also, I watched that on Hulu. So there's that. Now, Tom Merritt will present the award for Best Space. Tom.
Thank you, Bryce. Space, the final frontier? Possibly, but it is definitely the final season for the winner of the category of Best Space. Have I seen the screeners of this entire season already, even though it's not finished running yet? Yes, but my opinion...
That is a man who knows his
NDAs works.
That's a man who knows every letter in that contract.
My opinions are only based on the 2 episodes that have been released. This is the best space series ever.
Wow.
It is probably going to wrap up amazingly. And it is something where even though I saw the screeners, I am still going back and watching the show as it is released on Amazon Prime Video. I love this series in book form. I love it just as much in TV form. They had their own controversy they had to deal with where they ended up killing a character that doesn't die in the books. And I am very pleased with how they are working that into the story and not avoiding it and making it a part of the story. And I can already kind of see where they're moving the chess pieces to still tell the same kind of story. Very clearly, I think they are setting up for movies to be made, even though they're not making any more TV seasons. And I think that's the right choice. So if you have not yet caught up on The Expanse, catch up on The Expanse. It is a very well told, enjoyable space story.
Tom, I believe on Cordkillers, I think my previous position was, you know what? I'm going to wait until we have the ending in sight and then just, run straight on through. We're here now, right?
In January, when the finale comes out, I will probably tell you, yes, Brian, go ahead and watch this.
Okay. But separately, you would suggest or not stop me if I wanted to start bringing in my teenage daughters to watch from the beginning and get all caught up and everything.
It's certainly got adultish themes, sex and violence and drinking and all that, but I don't recall anything that I would raise my alarms on that.
Right. But it sounds like it ends stronger than Battlestar Galactica, which was what we were on track to watch.
I couldn't say, Brian.
Okay.
For the audio listeners, Tom is doing nothing. Oh, there we go.
Thank goodness.
All right. Now with the award for best goal/warning to Brian Brushwood with the presentation, Brian Brushwood.
Oh, hello.
Hello, I'm Brian Brushwood. Boy,
Brushwood.
I've done a lot of things. I've worn a lot of hats. I've been a
Wearing one right now.
variety entertainer. I performed in Vegas. I've opened an online store. I've marketed things. I've hired young talent to question me and make me a better. Look, just watch Hacks. It's literally a documentary of me 20 years from now. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm half horrified, half amazed, half.
It's so good though.
It's so good, right? And it's so accurate. I actually, you know what? That's all I'm going to say. Watch Hacks.
Let me throw in something which I don't think I undermines you not saying anymore, which is there are a lot of shows trying to deal with, like, everybody thinks this about the generations out there. And I think this show does a great job of letting each generation representative, Gen Z on one end and boomer-ish, maybe Gen X on the other end, be represented the way that generation would represent them, right?
I still don't know which of the two main characters.
Happen.
Yeah, I still don't know which of the two main characters I am. I watch it like a Rorschach test.
Yeah, it's really good.
And now, presenting the award for best is one Bryce Castillo.
Hi. I'm giving this to Disney Plus and Pixar's Luca. I think that is a very cute, fun movie. I don't think that subtextually it's gonna be, I don't know, inspiring, great analysis, but I think it's Pixar, so it looks great and it is a technological marvel. But I think it's also just a very fun, cute kind of family-friendly hijinks movie. I don't think that you can poke at a lot of those threads without the whole thing unraveling, but I think it's really a really good and fun, like, exciting movie. I think it really is a roller coaster of a movie.
It definitely is a visual treat, and I don't think this is a spoiler to say it's about accepting how cool the people you love are. Like, that's it.
Yeah, which I don't. I
That's not an extraordinary message.
I don't think you're going to be surprised if you know what the concept of the movie is about.
Yes, exactly.
And so I'd say, like, yeah, go and have a good 90 minutes, and probably you don't need to think about it anymore after that. Because if you do, you're going to be like, what the hell is that movie saying, actually?
Eat some cookies, forget about it.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Luca on Disney Plus. All right, now introducing the category Best Period Piece. It's one Tomas Merit. Tomas.
Half the Killies are already history at this point in the awarding, which is why we're about to award a history award to a show about the Joseon era. In the late 1800s of Joseon era Korea, there was a mad king and an empress in waiting. And so in this not documentary, but this telling of that era, having a drunken, womanizing chef from modern day Korea suddenly wake up in the body of that empress sure is funny. And that's what
is that really what it's about? Like it's a time travel.
Mr. Queen on Viki is about a drunken, womanizing celebrity chef falling from a balcony and waking up in the body of a Joseon era empress who's about to be married to a mad, stupid king. And how he deals with that is hilarious. It's funny. It's probably one of the funniest shows that I saw this entire year, and it's period accurate while also dealing with all of those constraints. So absolutely. You can get it on Viki even without paying. It's ad supported at that tier. Mr. Queen, if you want to check it out on Viki.
That is awesome.
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
it's really good. All right, moving on to best show that Brian can't stop sharing. Here he is to share. Brian Brushwood.
Brian.
Sorry, I was in the restroom. I can't stop sharing this story.
Could have walked by it.
Dude, I don't know what it is about Lower Decks, but it might be the most approachable, the very best way to get somebody into the Star Trek universe. I love Lower Decks. It's so good. I've rewatched it both seasons like 3 times right now.
It is an adult animated comedy of a Star Trek story. Star Trek stories.
Yeah.
That
And
is
when we say
certainly
adult,
how
we
it's
just mean
marketed, but
it's grown up. It's
Grown
not
up,
like
yeah, it's
adult. Yeah.
what I tell anybody who, that is how I describe it to people who are not in a Star Trek. However, people who are in a Star Trek, I say, what if the Next Generation just had another season, only they were self-aware? That's the only thing. And it happens to be a cartoon, you know. Like once you make that leap, it's pretty great.
And I think what a lot of people who like Star Trek were worried about was, so is it just going to be poking fun? Is it going to be punching down at the Next Generation? No, it's reverent of the Next Generation, but also uncompromising at being self-aware, which is a perfect way of putting it.
And Mike McMahon, I believe, is the creator or showrunner of that. And is a former Rick and Morty.
From Rick and Morty, yeah. Presenting the best murder mystery that almost wasn't.
Oh.
Is Bryce Castillo.
Oh,
That's you, Bryce.
That's me. Hello. Yeah, you know, I was skeptical. I was really giving this a side eye when it first came out. I said, you're going to be a murder mystery, aren't you? Because it starts off with you seeing a murdered person. But it is HBO's The White Lotus. And what I got in the middle of The White Lotus was, this is a very interesting, partly satirical, partly not satirical ensemble character portrait. You get to see the lives and tribulations of a good number of well-to-do residents or guests at a 5-star Hawaiian resort. And guess what? There is a murder mystery. Oops. Sorry, you forgot about it, but it's fantastic. There's a lot of tension as each episode goes on. It feels more and more absurd, but as you get away from it, you're like, that's not that absurd. I don't think there's nothing mystical. There's nothing magical going on, but there are a lot of fascinating character types that are shown in The White Lotus. I think it's really cool. It will not be for everybody. I think if you do not like the first 2 episodes or so, you're probably good. You probably don't need to give it any more try. But I think if it is your speed, it's fascinating. I think it is the show this year that had the most kind of communal discussion around it, even more than Succession this year. It was, who is it? Who did it? Who did the murder at the end of The White Lotus? And I was pleased with how it ended, and I'm excited to hear that they are going to do another different story with The White Lotus. I think it's kind of Succession meets Fawlty Towers meets a murder mystery. Like there's all those elements you were talking about it. But one of the best parts about it is it really invests you in the characters enough that you do forget the murder mystery, such that when the murder is revealed, it's not like, finally, the only thing I've been waiting. It's like, oh, right. Yes, this is important too. But you're more aware of all of the events surrounding it, such that it's not as important as it was at the beginning, which I think is a pretty cool trick. Yeah. And I think if you're looking for something to mull in your mind of what symbolically and subtextually is in this, I think there are messages that you can pull out and at least feel like you've gotten some insight to. So that's the way. Nothing better during the holiday season than a little mulled time.
And now, presenting the award for the best awkward feeling that you love is Tom Merritt.
Ladies and gentlemen, Netflix's I Think You Should Leave is all I have to say. Like, if you haven't watched it twice from beginning to end, seasons 1 and 2, congratulations, you're in for a treat. Because this is meme generation come alive, but it's also just damn funny, and it's a new kind of observational humor, such that it's certainly comparisons to other sketch comedy are appropriate, but it's a different kind of take, I think. Don't you agree, Brian?
Yeah, there was a headline I read once that said, I think you should leave is its own love language. And I was like, that's dumb. And then I found myself speaking entirely in quotes from I think you should leave.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, he admitted. You have no good ideas, Paul. Well, it's amazing.
And the second season that came out this year is also great. All cylinders, a fantastic
Sloppy
continuation.
steaks.
Nothing
For
overstays its welcome in the micro, from each individual sketch all the way to, we only have like 6 good episodes, so we're only going to do 6 episodes.
You may think Coffin Flops is not a show, but I think you should watch. I think you should leave.
There are 26 stunts that are performed in that one sketch.
Wow.
26 times human beings had to experience that.
Well, you know what human beings have had to experience more than 26 times is the winner of the next category, Best Show That Goes Nowhere and Has No Hero, Brian Brushwood.
Wait, we're not up to 26.
Or more than that.
Wait, really? Yes. Oh my God. So finally, late to the show, late to the train, late to the experience. Finally, I watched Succession, and my daughter was asking like, well, I don't know, maybe I'll watch it with you. What's it about? I'm like, a bunch of terrible people trying to grab power. It's like, well, who's the one we're rooting for? And I was like, none of them. And she says, well, who wins? And I was like, don't know.
That's the name of the game,
right?
lady.
Exactly. It's like it's awful people who have 2 faces, one that points up, one that points down, and that's it. And then you just get to see a deck get reshuffled. I don't know why I love it. Probably I'm in love just with the theme song.
I'm sorry, Brian, but this is also the winner in the category of Best Beast Mode.
It certainly is that too, dude.
That's right. I think the genius, part of the genius of Succession is they know the alchemical way to give just enough humanity to each character so that even though you can't trust them, even though they're awful, you start to think like, but maybe they wouldn't be awful if, and then they pull you right back away from thinking that again. It's so well done.
And I think, to the question of like, who are we supposed to root for? Who are we supposed to like? Like, I think it's a non-question. It's a floater. You are supposed to, it changes every scene, how do you like this person? Would you like them to win or not? Like, it is a very it's like if the Game of Thrones game, the question of who would be on the throne, was asked 4 times a week, and you were allowed to vote each time.
I think I might have an equally good metaphor. Imagine I put a lava lamp in front of you and you asked, who am I supposed to root for?
Right.
I'd be all like, just watch it. It's awesome.
No, just watch the lava lamp. You might,
go
start
down.
finding yourself rooting for one of the bubbles going up at one point, but it won't last. It won't. Yeah,
Exactly, right?
Very similar to the White Lotus, too, in terms of character archetypes, right? Very, very high privilege characters, very high wealth characters who act what seems inhuman to us lowly mortals.
Yeah. And there's almost no normal characters. I think that's the other.
The only normal character gets corrupted.
Well, and he's not even normal. He's from a rich family.
Yeah,
He's
the
more normal
closest
than the
to
rest.
a touchstone that we have.
Right, because he's had more normal experiences. But
he at least is confused by the rest of the world around him. He has the courtesy to do that.
And they do a good job of not always making him the audience surrogate. It's not always like, we need this character in this scene to ask all the questions.
Yeah, we're definitely not that guy.
Yeah.
But you know what we might be if we get our hands on a big-ass mech is somebody who could win the Big-Ass Mech Award.
Oh, you know what? I've got someone who can take the Big-Ass Mech Award.
Who's that?
It would be the Evangelion films. Just all of them.
Just all of them?
They're all on Amazon Prime Video now because the new one, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.01. That's right. All 4 of the kind of Evangelion reboot movies are on Amazon Prime, including this new 4th one. Our buddy Brett Weaver is in a lot of these films, so the disclaimer. But I think if these 4 movies are good enough to be binged in 9 hours straight, They are even better if you give them some time in between them. But they're great. They are a retelling and a readaptation of the Evangelion story. So if you've seen the original series or the original reboot of the ending, this is newer. This is another new take on it, and does a good job of going some new places, showing the dystopia of this world, which I think some of the original anime loses. You kind of really realize, oh no, these people know that they're in the end of days, and they still have to live their lives and move on and go to school. So I think that they're good films, and I like the dubs. I think the dubs are good as well. A lot of people like subs. So Evangelion. 1, 2, 3, and 3.0 plus 1.01 are on Amazon Prime Video. Tom, why don't you give out the award for Best Being the Best You Can award?
Well, darn tootin', Vladimir Putin. The winner for Best Being the Best You Can goes to Ted Lasso, I guess.
Wait a minute. What are you, a thief? Are you a robber? Play some cutting. That's right. Hot takes incoming, because that's my pick for the best second act that doesn't feel the need to be particularly fun, you know, the way second acts traditionally tend to be. This is the dark moment of a trilogy.
You know, this is another one. This is the second one where when I was going through my list of what I watched, I immediately put on the winner list. Didn't put it in there for consideration. Just was like, no, Ted Lasso. Even though I enjoyed season 1 more than season 2, I enjoyed season 2 more than most seasons of other shows. And in whole, I loved every second of every episode of season 2, and it is one of the best shows I've ever watched. It just handles characters so freaking well. And you're absolutely right, Brian. It knows that second acts don't have to be fun, and so why should this one be any different?
Well, yeah, and I'll confess, watching week over week, there was a fair bit of side eye from yours truly, but they definitely stick the landing, and there's a reason that this season is the way it is, and I salute you, Ted.
It's a good show, and now that you're that season 2 is all the way out, you can binge season 2 if that's something that you were waiting for. Because that's how I watched. I did not watch season 1 when y'all watched it. I watched it binging before season 2 came out, and I really enjoyed that way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I know most of you have been waiting for this moment in the night. So without any further ado, let's get right to best reminder that you should watch anything from Lord and Miller. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah, dude. Lord and Miller, of course, they're the ones that did Into the Spider-Verse. They did Clouded with a Chance of Meatballs. There's a wonderful lyrical rhythm to their comedy and storytelling. They break just the right number of rules. They push just the right number of boundaries from what you're comfortable with. I don't know. I believe The Mitchells versus the Machines was originally intended to be a theatrical release.
That's right.
And then the pandemic happened, and so they had to put it out on Netflix. Doesn't matter. It's pure joy. It's very simple storytelling, 4-quadrant storytelling. You know, male, female, young, old. It's so great. Yes, it's all by the numbers, but they are master comedy animated musicians, and you should watch this if you haven't seen it.
Oh wait, did I watch this? I watched this. This is a good movie.
Yeah, right?
This is a good movie.
Isn't it great?
He's not so surprised.
I forgot that I watched this, but no, I watched this. This is a good movie.
What's funny
This is deserving of this award.
No. What's funny is I forgot that I watched it, and it was only by going through all the previous spreadsheets that I realized, oh wait, no, that was great. It's a good reminder that you should watch everything from Lord and Miller.
Yeah, and also
That's why it wins the award.
Another Gravity Falls alumni, Mike Rianda, I believe, wrote this. Inside Job, which was an earlier pick, is also Shion Takeuchi, who worked on Gravity Falls.
It's so adorable, so fun. Just you might be tempted for like 2.5 seconds to take some part of it seriously, and then you're just gonna get loose and have a great 2 hours. It's gonna be awesome.
Nice.
And now, with the award for Best Teens for Not Teens, not sure what that means, is Bryce Castillo.
Hey, but that rhymed. Nice.
That does rhyme. Hello. I am giving this spot on the Killies to the HBO original We Are Who We Are, which is a very interesting show about teenagers that is not just teenagers do a bunch of drugs and have sex, which is what I'm assuming Euphoria is. It's very interesting. It is about these teenagers, these American teenagers living on an army base, a U.S. Army base in Italy, and what it's like to be a teenager being moved to Europe, to a different country, and living kind of in the silo, the little Americanized culture pocket that is an army base, a U.S. military base. I think it does a very good job of touching on issues of feeling alienated, issues of gender and sexuality, issues of just friendship dynamics. I think it's really interesting. I don't know if they're going to do another season. I think that they could, and I think it would be. I think you could fit something in, but I really dug it. It's called We Are Who We Are. A little slow, a little atmospheric. There's a good couple of episodes where you do one episode and then you come back and you do the same timeline from another character's perspective. There's a couple of those in there, but I think it's really interesting. And
how much real estate is dedicated to the expat experience, the experience for Americans who happen to be living outside of America? Because I experienced that once as a preteen, and then again visiting my parents in Venezuela shortly before Venezuela became a hellscape. Is it more about the teeniness or the expatiness?
The teeniness. I mean,
okay.
What the expatiness of it all? It doesn't come out in comparison. It's very much in the present moment. This is what the situation is. This is the exchange food court. This is the weird school that they're in. There's not a lot of comparison of what it's like back home. There's not a lot of that. It's very in the moment, and I think that's good because I feel like that could overshadow some of the more nuanced stories that they do. So that's on HBO. All right. Delivering the award for Best Roguish Charm.
I got this one, Bryce. Okay. Delivering the award for Best Roguish Charm is Tom.
I feel like I had the best. I feel like I had more roguish charm. And now delivering the award for Best Roguish Charm.
Well, I was Loki, the only rogue because I'm the only one.
The winner of Best Roguish Charm is Loki, okay? You can't be more roguish charm than Loki.
I can be more roguish because I'm the only one of the three of us who didn't put Loki in my awards category.
Okay.
That's your cue, Bryce.
Loki's great. Loki's great.
It is.
Dog, Loki's great. I mean, I like it more than WandaVision, partly because it's shorter. I like it better than any of the other Disney Plus Marvel stuff. I mean,
by a long shot.
A huge mark.
I feel like Loki is the one that I still think of more often. When I'm thinking about other Marvel, if we're talking about Marvel, like after seeing Spider-Man, Loki kept coming up. When we're talking about theories about like, oh, what will the Doctor Strange movie be about? Loki comes up. WandaVision was great, and it comes up sometimes, but Loki, I feel like, really feeds into the main line of like, where are we going with all of these stories?
I feel that, and I think it also helps that Loki is written and was, planned to have a second season, and so it tells a story that has a continuing story, but isn't necessarily get ready to watch a bunch of movies or other TV shows to continue it. Like, nah, they're gonna need to come back to Loki season 2 to keep telling this.
Literally all the rest of the Disney Plus,
which is a real
universe,
which is a real poop in a bag on your doorstep at the end of those shows. I kind of want some closure. Man.
Double award winner, Loki.
That's right.
Well, that brings us to the final award of the night. It's been an amazing night, everyone. But here now to award Best Surprise of the Year, ladies and gentlemen, the rogue himself, Brian Brushwood.
I double dog dare you guys to come at me on this. Full stop this entire year. The biggest shocker, the number one stunner was nobody. Bob Odenkirk. slaying and kicking ass. I loved it beyond words. Rewatched it 3 times. Did not expect it. What a delight. What a delight.
I cannot dispute that because it was a surprise in how the plot kept surprising you, but also in that this movie was so good and didn't get, you know, the big flashy headlines that big blockbusters will get.
Yeah. I enjoyed this as a, hey, let's do a John Wick movie with Bob Odenkirk with the John Wick guy. And guess what?
That was awesome.
It's good.
Turns out he's pretty good at John Wick movies.
It's pretty good. Well, that'll do it for the actual Killies, but we've all got one last award to give out. It's our Abandonee, something that we had watched and are giving up. Tom, we're going to go to you first. What is your Abandonee for 2021?
Yeah, I've given out Abandonee's award before with the caveat of this doesn't mean I don't like it. This means I stopped watching it for whatever reason. And in fact, I want to note that previous Abandonee Death in Paradise, I picked back up this year and caught up. So I have unabandoned it and am now current on Death in Paradise and still enjoy it. So I kind of think this may fall in the same category, but Kim's Convenience.
Wow.
That 4th season got real weird real fast.
Two episodes of the final season. Maybe part of it is we know that it's the final season, but it's not like a conscious like, ooh, let's save it up. It's sort of like we watch 2 episodes and we just keep forgetting. Like, oh right, we should watch a Kim's Convenience at some point.
Is this the same season where it's like
where Jung is gone for the first few episodes?
Right. A bunch of characters are appearing just over Skype and so on.
Yeah.
They ironed that out after a few episodes. I do think the beginning of that season is kind of rough, but I ended up finishing it. I think that it gets back into its routine format outside of the like little bits of story they have to do at the beginning and the end of each season.
And that's why I say I don't think this is me saying I don't like it anymore. But it was just I was surprised that we didn't just kind of eat it all up because we had in the other seasons.
Equally, I guess my Abandonee pick. First of all, I totally agree. Like I was super surprised for as much as I was loving and enjoying Kim's Convenience, how quickly I fell off in that season. Equally surprised that I fell off after intensely loving the first like 4 or 5 episodes of FX on Hulu original Dave. It just at some point I loved it so much that Bonnie pointed out that I was using the show as a way to embrace my own neurosis or whatever about the existential crisis of being a YouTube creator, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, once she spoke those words, it was like a spell and it broke any affection. Like all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm having a great time because it feels like me. And also he's not handling this great and I'm not handling this great. So maybe we need to break up. And so I made it 5 episodes in and we broke up. I'm sure it's great. It wasn't
Dave, it was you.
It's just like somebody was saying, you got to watch this Bo Burnham special about being alone during a pandemic. I made it about 10 minutes in and I'm like, yes, that is such an accurate portrayal of what it's like to be a YouTube creator alone during a pandemic that I will stop watching the remainder of this. And exact same thing happened.
My Abandonee is, I guess, agreed. Something that I had been watching and am actively not watching anymore. And I think that this kind of runs in a little bit of a trend from my Abandonee last year. Last year, I gave up on Claws, which is basically if you set Breaking Bad in Florida with Niecy Nash. Good show, long in the tooth. I fell off of it. And I gotta say, it's the exact same reason I fell off of Good Girls, which is if Breaking Bad was with 3 moms instead of with Walter White. And I think it was fine at first, but it's one of those things where it's just getting too long in the tooth. They're not able to really add in a lot of new characters. They have to do a lot of switching horses, who's with who in this. It falls off and loses a lot of the edge of. It's supposed to be a crime drama, but so much of it is family drama, and it's on NBC, so it's got to be everybody. My Abandonee goes to Good Girls, which is a shame because I think the first few seasons of that have promise.
This is always the moment of this awards show where we get weirdly introspective, where it's like, I still love it. I don't know why. And
it's just we ended up in separate places.
There's so much stuff now. I mean, there was a Marvel thing literally every week this year. It's just you can't get away from it, and that just means that some stuff you have your own rubric by which you.
Sometimes we could
almost do a series called Not Starties. Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is one that I want to watch, and I'm excited to talk about with friends who are watching it, and I just have not found the moment to slip it in.
Maybe that's what I find the most special about the Abandonee, is because these aren't things that we started watching and we're like, this is garbage and I hate it. These are things that at some point we deeply loved and were convinced were going to be the one, and for whatever reason are letting go.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for another amazing night. Bryce, Brian, thank you both for just, what I think is the highlight of the year in the television and movie industry, the Killies Awards, brought once again to a successful close without having to take back an award from anybody, unlike some other award shows in the past.
Wait, what's that a reference to?
To the Oscars.
The Oscars from a few years ago.
Remember
Moonlight?
Oh.
Yeah.
And it was La La Land.
It was La La Land.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah. We don't even have envelopes. We can't even have that problem.
Exactly.
Still a great night.
That's the key. Yeah, still a great night. There's also that too.
Tuesday nights.
Thank you, Cordkillers audience, for supporting us, for being there for us all year long. Here's to another great 2021. Patreon.com/Cordkillers, of course, is where those folks are. If you're getting the show for free, you want to thank them because they're the ones that make it possible. Happy New Year, everybody. Woo! Happy holidays.
We did it,
see
man.
you in 2022.
Love you.
Woo!
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.